week's episode of Gundam Build Fighters Try saw the return of the very popular Beargguy mobile suit from the first season, and it left quite an impression this week, because it was both kicking and punching the balls of the titular mobile suit from Turna Gundam. Yeah, that happened this week. So this week's episode, for the most part, was just fluff material, but like the first season, whenever they did one of these episodes, they're at least a lot of fun. In fact, it actually does remind me very much of the episode from the first season, where China actually built the Beargguy and used it in battle for the first time. However, there is a little bit of a twist in this week's episode. We get to see that the Beargguy has a brand new upgrade. It is not just the normal Beargguy. This is the Beargguy family, or Mama Beargguy. Let's see how many times I can say Beargguy in this review. So, hilariously enough, this mobile suit actually has this little bear buddy which can actually ride on his back, almost like a little backpack for parents. And it just looks funny, and it leads to a surprisingly cool action scene where it fights against a main Gundam from Turna Gundam, which is actually a Gundam series that I have never seen. And I'm really excited because it's going to be released next year on the first time in the US on DVD, and I cannot wait to pick that up and finally watch it. I've seen a lot of clips from it, and of course I've seen a lot of the mobile suits, but I'm really interested in seeing it for the first time. But this was like sort of my first taste of what the Turna Gundam can do, and unfortunately it's being used by this one douchebag who's in the middle of this ridiculous Gunpla collection fashion show tournament. You just gotta accept it for what it is. Roll the punches, it is fun. But the main story this week is that Mirai is getting ready to go to this fashion show, which involves Gunpla, and then they're going to have a big Gunpla race at the very end. But she needs her very own Gundam model, and that's where Yuma Kosaka comes in, and he's basically going to help her make her very first Gunpla. And it's really funny how he first gets involved with a scene where Fumina and Sekai almost look like they want to help, and he gives them the most cold stare ever. He wants nothing more than to be alone with Mirai, and frankly, can you blame him? I thought the scene was pretty funny when they go to G-Muse, and he's showing her all of the different mobile suits, and she's completely freaking out because he keeps choosing these really hardcore, almost like too hardcore for Gundam fan mobile suits, until he finally pulls out the Beargguy, in which case she's completely enamored by it. And they go through the whole process of building it and using the paint and then assembling everything. And of course the little Beargguy, who's actually going to be the ace in the hole for her mobile suit. And it was just a really funny scene at the end. So we get to this big beach setting, which is basically just an excuse for some Mirai fan service. And before I forget, there was actually this short cameo from the character of Miss Mihoshi from the first season, who apparently has become even more famous because of her Gunpla skills. So there's this one flashy douchebag who wants to go on a date with Mirai, and he challenges her to a Gunpla battle, and that's where the end of the episode comes in, because that's what they do in this series. They always solve things with a Gunpla battle, and it's supposed to be just a race at first, but the farther they get in this competition, you realize that everybody is trying to destroy Mirai's Beargguy, and that's because it's all female competitors except for this one dude who actually promised all the girls if they can defeat her, he'll go on a date with them. And that's just, as lame as that is, it leads to a ridiculous battle where the Beargguy almost seemingly gets defeated, and then suddenly that little blue one comes up, and it's almost kind of like disturbingly funny how it walks up to the dead Beargguy mom, and then it powers up and it has this like glowing aura around it, and then it actually uses the Jigen House school techniques where it basically just kicks and punches the Turna Gundam in the balls, and it's just really funny how everybody reacts to that. They all end up grabbing their crotch. It's absolutely ridiculous, but it makes for a very funny episode. So if you thought that destroying the schlongs of mobile suits was the only power of the little Beargguy, it can actually blow out these little bubbles which it can actually ride in, and it actually runs across the lake all the way to the finish line, and just as Mirai is about to cross over, she face plants right in the dirt, and Azaku 1 ends up just running right through, stealing the whole competition. Some random woman by the name of Karen. Needless to say, it's pretty freaking hilarious. For the most part, that's really the end of the episode. It just ends really nicely with all of them hanging out at a kimono festival looking at the fireworks, one of which actually explodes into a haro, which I thought was a pretty nice touch. But that's pretty much it. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Gundam Build Fighters Try? It was a pretty good one. You know, it could be basically boiled down to a glorified filler episode if you want to call it that, but if anything, it was really entertaining and it was very funny. And they did follow up on a few minor things. Like at the beginning of the episode, we actually get to see when Sekai got knocked out after the battle, where you can see that Meijin Kawaguchi, Tatsuya Yuki, is watching from the rafters, and he basically mentions that he's getting absorbed into the Gunpla in a way that, like, when he's battling, like, he shares its pain. That's why he had those, like, weird cuts on his face and why he was knocked out. And I'm kind of interested to see where that's going to be going later on, especially because now that we've already seen Tatsuya Yuki, it's only a matter of time before Sei and Reiji show up, and I cannot wait to see them. Otherwise, the humor in this week's episode was great. Just getting to see Yuma hanging out with Mirai, just all of his really weird, funny moments when he blushes is just always really funny. And Mirai herself is a really interesting character. I didn't think that she would actually know any of the martial arts techniques that Sekai uses, but it does make sense. They are from the same family. They just haven't really gotten into their backstory quite yet. The action this week, while minimal, was fun and frankly just hilarious to watch. The Beargguy is just a very clumsy and cute-looking mobile suit, and seeing it in battle is always surprising. And I did like the little twist with the little backpack that it was wearing with the little Beargguy on it. I can already tell that's probably going to become a very popular gunpla in the foreseeable future. But the thing that I think is most interesting about this episode, though, is after the post-credit scene, we have this other character by the name of Ado Saga, who apparently is going to be some kind of a badass, even more so than Suga. But more interestingly is the preview. I cannot wait to see next week's episode because it is going to feature the return of the American samurai boy, Nils Nielsen, and I can't wait to see what he's learned in the area of Plavsky particles, and possibly this will see the return of some other classic characters. So I can't wait to see where this is going because this is sort of like that point in the series where we're getting ready to start the next arc of the series. We just have a little bit of downtime with some of the characters, and obviously I'd imagine that Yuma himself is probably going to have to build a brand new gunpla considering it was destroyed in the previous battle, and if it is anything like the first season, hopefully we will see some brand new gunpla and some brand new upgrades for all of the characters' different mobile suits, and of course that means that's going to be a brand new intro, a lot of brand new characters, and of course opening up the second arc of the series. So I'm really excited. So even though this episode was, for the most part, just sort of a goofy side episode that you can technically skip, I still say watch it. It was a lot of fun. I really loved everything about it. I just love the humor that's inherent in this series and the fact that there are times when they take things way too seriously, but that just makes it all the more fun. And of course, it featured the return of the Beargguy. That thing's absolutely adorable and kind of badass. So I'm going to give this week's episode a 4 out of 5. As a huge fan of Gundam Build Fighters, I thought this was a really entertaining one. It's not the tournament, but it's still pretty damn entertaining. Thank you guys for watching my review. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And before you leave, please tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Gundam Build Fighters Try. Remember guys, if you have not subscribed to our channel, you can do that by clicking on the channel icon right up here. You can also follow us on Facebook and on Twitter.